Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to see so many of you here this evening. So this evening's ParkHouseConnects is on accelerated reading and a bit of a summary about reading as well, to be perfectly honest. You have me, Mrs. Hilton, leading it today, but actually really the session is led by our primary and secondary school librarian. So they will be doing a short video for you, and then we will have a Q&A at the end. This will obviously all be recorded and on our website following this session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of them and their video, and then I will stop it at the end for any questions. And if you look at the top of your screen, there is an option there to write any questions following the video that you're about to watch. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us as we talk about reading, the Accelerated Reading Program, and how we use it at Park House English School. Hello, my name is Zainab Khan, and I am the new Senior Librarian. I come from South India, but I was born and raised in Qatar. It has been a pleasure serving the secondary students and sharing my passion for reading with them. I am very keen on hearing them speak about their choice of literature and often share my own.
And I'm Dina Dodds-Brooks, the new primary librarian. I was born in Holland but grew up in Canada. I'm very excited to be here and pass my love for all things printed on to the students at Park House English School. I love that the popular R.L. Stine series Goosebumps that I used to read on the bus to school every morning is still such a popular choice for young readers today.
Reading improves vocabulary. Even as adults, when we read, we often come across words we've never heard before, and we learn from this. This is even more so for young people. Children sometimes stumble over their words, do not know how to pronounce them or what they mean. By reading, young people encounter new words more frequently and can see them better in their context. If you then pay attention to the pronunciation as a parent, these children will be better prepared for school. During library sessions, we often encourage them to come to us if they require assistance with pronunciation or definition of a word.
Reading helps improve comprehension. Children who are encouraged to read at an early age have better comprehension of things around them. They develop smart thinking abilities and are more receptive to creativity and ideas. As a result, they grow up to be more intelligent and aware of their surroundings. The more you read, the more imaginative you become. Whenever you read a fiction book, it takes you to another world. In this new world, your imagination works at its best as you try to see things in your own mind.
Reading develops critical thinking skills. One of the primary benefits of reading books is its ability to develop critical thinking skills. For example, reading a mystery novel sharpens your mind. What elements are there in the story to make this or that conclusion? Or if a book is non-fiction, you will sometimes ask yourself if the author is right. Reading requires an individual to think and process information in a way that watching television cannot. The more you read, the deeper your understanding becomes about what you're reading and its application.
Reading improves writing skills. Reading a well-written book affects your ability to become a better writer. Just like artists influence others, so do writers. Many successful authors gain their expertise by reading the works of others. Children who read well will develop better writing skills. The reason? They have been introduced to a world where words are their main weapon and they are free to shoot. Parents must promote a love of reading and model opportunities to regularly read a range of materials, fiction and nonfiction books, as well as instruction manuals, food packaging, cookbooks, and flight or train timetables. This will support all areas of their learning and comprehension, which will significantly impact their writing skills.
Reading improves focus and concentration. In our internet-crazed world, attention is drawn in a million different directions at once as we multitask through every day. In a single 5-minute span, the average person will divide their time between working on a task, checking their email, chatting with a couple of people, monitoring their smartphone, and interacting with peers. This type of ADD-like behavior causes stress levels to rise and lowers our productivity. When you read a book, all your attention is focused on the story. The rest of the world just falls away, and you can immerse yourself in every fine detail you're absorbing.
Reading helps build confidence. In a world where competition in every walk of life prevails, we need to build a child's personality to allow them to have considerable confidence in themselves. Reading books sharpens many skills that all work together to improve confidence. For example, reading aloud helps them to become familiar with using their own voice to communicate and share ideas.
Reading broadens horizons. By reading, you get a glimpse of other cultures and places. Books expand your horizons, letting you see other countries, other people, and so many other things you have never seen or imagined. It's the perfect way to visit a new place without leaving your room.
Reading can make you more empathetic. According to studies, losing yourself in books, especially fiction, might increase your empathy. In a study conducted in the Netherlands, researchers showed that people who were emotionally transported by a work of fiction experienced a boost in empathy. By reading a book, you became part of the story and feel the pain and other emotions of the characters. This in turn allows your mind to become more aware of how different things affect other people. Eventually, this improves your ability to empathize with other people. We at Park House practice active reading. Through the program, we ensure that students' library lessons are fully utilized to improve literacy and vocabulary. Because this is the time when good readers may be made or lost, at Park House, we have introduced the Accelerated Reading Program, starting at year 5 and running until year 9. Accelerated reading is compulsory for all students in these year groups. However, some boys and girls who show exceptional reading skills will be encouraged to take their STAR reading test prior to year 5 and begin the program early. In primary, we have a few students in year 1 and 4 who are using the program.
As we mentioned earlier, with Accelerated Reader, we get help with vocabulary, comprehension, accuracy, and motivating our students.
Each student takes the STAR reading test at the beginning of each term. This test is designed to measure the student's aptitude for reading.
The STAR reading test is designed to measure comprehension and vocabulary.
The questions increase in difficulty based on the answers given.
From very simple to very difficult. The test includes both comprehension and vocabulary, as these are the two main areas that students are tested on when taking a quiz after finishing a book.
The diagnostic report places each student on a scale to indicate if they require intervention, along with giving their reading age and ZPD, the zone of proximal development. The ZPD, simply put, is the readability range within which pupils should read to best develop their reading while avoiding frustration. After completing their STAR reading test, the students are told their ZPD score and are shown where in the library they can find and select books within said score. They're encouraged to take out books at the lower end of their score, and after the successful completion of 3 quizzes, scoring 85% or higher, they can move up a level.
How the AR program progresses. Your child reads their book each day, week, or fortnight, whichever is comfortable for them, and will take a test on that book. The tests can only be taken at school, either in one of the libraries, the IT room for primary, or on one of the class iPads.
Your child will see their bookshelf build up and sees their percentage score for each book. They can also see the number of words they've read each term, which is very important as there is always some competitiveness amongst the students to see who will be the first to read 1,000,000 words.
All students are assigned reading targets that they are meant to meet before end of term. They earn points by completing AR books and then doing a comprehension or vocabulary quiz on them. With each book they read, they get closer to meeting their reading targets for the term.
Your child sits a new STAR reading test each term. We can track their progress with independent reading and help the students find books they can read successfully, thereby encouraging their joy in reading. Because the accelerated reading program is carried from year 5 through to year 9, it makes it more of a marathon than a race. Students are encouraged to meet their targets through different incentives. For example, the students in years 5 and 6 will have their name and photo on the Millionaires Club board outside their classrooms. The accelerated reading is our method to help encourage reading for pleasure, which, as we all know, has a multitude of benefits, which we've learned about earlier. Last year, I was a learning assistant in year 4 and would read with a number of students on a weekly basis. I love that they now visit me in the library, some a few times a week outside of their regular library classes, and they're whizzing through books. I can see them outside during their break times, quietly sitting and reading, completely immersed in their book.
What can parents do to help? According to Renaissance Learning's research, children who read at least 20 minutes a day with 90% comprehension rate on books, quizzes, see greatest gains. Here are some tips for you to encourage your children to read. Create a comfortable environment for them to read in. Talk about the books that they're reading, read together, and show interest in your child's books.
Now that your child has access to books at their reading level, we look forward to continuing to encourage and motivate them to become successful, independent readers. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and have a wonderful evening.
Good evening, everyone.
Excellent, that is fantastic. So quite a short summary of our accelerated program that we do in our school, and a lovely explanation of what we are doing with reading across the school as well, for both the primary and the secondary school. It is now an opportunity for you to ask any questions. So I will leave the question screen up. And if you have any questions, just put it in the Q&A bar at the top, and I will try my best to answer all of them for you. Thank you very much. Fantastic. So we've had a couple of questions coming in. How can I know if my year 2 child is eligible for the accelerated reading program? How many children per class from year 1 to 4 will be selected? So actually the program is really meant to start in year 5. That's kind of where it's aimed, because what happens across the school is they start with phonics, obviously in early years. They start reading the phonics books. So in reception, for example, they have just started to take some books home. They start with non-words sometimes, and then they go on to have worded books. They follow the phonics program, and then they start going on to our leveled Oxford Reading Tree books. And then from there, we move on to the accelerated reading program once they've kind of gone through all of those books. Now, like I say, it kind of starts at year 5, but in general, we have many children in our school starting in year 4, some in year 3, and this year we even have a child in year 1. So we never cap children's learning. We always make sure that we are pushing them forward, but it is based on their ability. So once the teacher feels that they are ready, that is when the children will move on. So like I've said, we've already got a child in year 1, for example. That's an exceptional case. That's not the norm, but we will move children on as and when they're ready. So you will be told by the teacher when they are ready to move on. It isn't normal for children in year 2 and year 3. Maybe towards the end of year 3 they may start going on to it. Year 4, most children are then going on to it. Year 5 and 6, every child is pretty much on it within our school. So it's not that children get enrolled, it's when their reading level is ready, and that is when they move on to the accelerated reading programme once they have gone through all of the other reading steps. So the eligibility and the criteria for that is really when they're ready. So once they are what we consider a free reader off the Oxford Reading Tree reading levels, they are able to decode words, they are able to comprehend accurately, then we will move them on to accelerated reader. It's almost like a programme that just follows on from Oxford Reading Tree. It's the next level up, basically. And no, it isn't just for years 5 to 9. Somebody else has just asked. Like I've said, we never cap children's learning. Once children are ready, we will move them on to it. Somebody has said, would we give them access to Epic? Do you know, we're really discouraging as much online reading as we can, just because they have had so much online and they still get all of their homework and things via Teams, which we feel is enough screen time. So we you know, the children are getting actual hard copy books home, and we prefer that they're reading that way. Obviously you have access to providing them with books online if you want to. We do have some online text, so we have Literacy Shed, which your children have access to. We have Literacy Planet, which your children have access to, and there are a number of other programs that we do use online, but we really prefer that the children are reading actual books, because we try to limit screen time as much as possible, really. So books are, you know, one of the best ways to go, really. Okay, so in terms of informing you where your children are after one of the assessments, the children will come home with a different book, basically. So what happens is they read their text, they come in, they do an online test, it's all generated for them, and it tells them whether they're staying on the same level, they're going up a level, they can change a book within the same level, etc. And then the librarian will then give them the correct leveled book. The accelerated reading programme is fantastic, because what it also does actually is you can generate a report from it. So the teachers may use these reports to give them some indication as to the elements that the children need to work on within their reading, areas of strength. So this sometimes will inform some of the reports that you will get. Somebody has just said, a child in grade 8, how do you know the results of the test? So you can contact form tutors, because they will be able to get access to results for you. But parents meetings are always the best way, and the English teachers during parents meetings will usually have access to their accelerated reading levels, etc. The best thing to do, I would say, is before your parents meeting with their English teacher, always zip over a really quick email and just say, hi, during our meeting, can I also talk about accelerated reading, just so that the teacher will make sure that they've got all of that information prepared, ready and waiting for you when you have your parents meeting as well. No, you would not have access to the tests themselves. We can generate reports from the accelerated reading and see where your child is based on a number of the assessments they do, but we would never give the test. We actually don't print off the tests anyway, because it's all online. We get the reports based on a number of assessments that the children have done in relation to their reading. So the reading level, it doesn't really work like that in terms of once they have finished the Oxford Reading Tree books, that is when they go on to it. So once they finish that scheme, that's almost when they go on to it. However, like I've said, if a child's comprehension, decoding is at a really high level, we wouldn't then say, right, but you now need to go through all of the Oxford Reading Tree, we would just say, do you know what, we will make a judgment, this child is ready for moving on to accelerated reading, and that is based on teacher judgment, knowing the children, you know, continuous teacher assessment all of the time, and then, you know, we make a judgment that way. Will the teacher inform the parents when the children are being selected for the accelerated reading programme? Well, the way that you're informed is basically your child will come home with an accelerated reading book. So obviously your child comes home weekly with different books. They will then come home with an accelerated reading book. They won't necessarily send you a separate message about that, but you can obviously speak to your class teacher about that by either sending an email and just say, actually, you know, is my, well, you would know if they are on it, but has my child just been moved on to it? If they come home with an accelerated reading book, I think that's the most obvious way. They can talk about it with you in relation to your specific child in more detail at parents' meetings. I wouldn't say that you would necessarily need a separate meeting about it. Your child will, you will know when your child's on it because your child will be provided with that book. It's not done based on, oh, I think my child is ready for it. We don't do it like that. It is based on the teacher's assessment of your child in school and how they're doing in school with their reading. If there are any more questions, I'll wait a couple of moments. Okay, so this is the question about a reward for reading, etc. So we're actually changing our rewards and behaviour policy at the moment, and our children are involved in that. So the school council are in the process of reviewing that along with the staff. Things like pizza parties, etc., may not be something that is decided that is done, because we're looking at intrinsic as opposed to extrinsic rewards for doing things that they should be doing. We talk about, you know, self-reflection and, you know, trying to encourage their own independence in their learning and making sure that they can self-encourage themselves rather than constant rewards, and certainly not massive rewards for learning, because obviously that's not necessarily real life. But the children are having these conversations at the moment. What children are expected to do is make sure that they are writing in their planners when they're reading, or parents are writing in their planners when they're reading, and there is a recognition within the classroom for that. And obviously, if you feel like your child needs further encouragement, then absolutely please just email your class teachers and just say, hi, look, do you know what, my child is struggling, or I'm struggling with my child to get them to do any reading. Can you please kind of give them some more you know, encouragement to be able to do that, because obviously you know, that some children will need that one-to-one conversation, and that's absolutely fine. So email class teachers and they will be happy to do that too. And that is no problem. We obviously, somebody has just said thank you for using access to the library all of the time. Obviously now we don't have bubbles and all of the crazy that was going on during COVID. We are now able to use the library freely, so they have it before school, they've got it during break times and a little bit after school as well. They obviously have it during their normal library sessions, but general free access all of the time, especially with changing books for accelerated reading and things as well, and during break times. So there's lots and lots of time for them to be able to use the library, which is lovely. And Miss Dodds is the most enthusiastic librarian that we have had, so it's lovely to see her in the primary school, and in the secondary school exactly the same. We have the most amazing team in our libraries and I'm really proud of them. Does year one have an online site for reading? No, we do not use an online site for reading in year one. We encourage the children to read hard copies of books. We think that it's really important that they're doing that, and you know, we don't want to encourage any more screen time than we already have. Yes, it's natural that they're going to have loads of screen time, you know, in this day and age. We're in 2022, absolutely, and we have our homework and things published in that way, but we would prefer reading is actually done with actual books. Can therapy, storytelling, debate competition to encourage public speaking, expression of opinion. Yes, we have lots and lots of things going on this year in relation to reading, storytelling, debate. There's a wealth of things and competitions coming up. Honestly, I can't even keep up with everything that's going on at the moment. As things come up, you will see them in the newsletters. You'll get them through class links and PSA, etc. So just keep your eyes peeled, because there are loads and loads of events. We just don't release them all at once, because obviously people will become overwhelmed, because there's so much going on. So we try to make sure that we only give a little bit of warning, so that parents are aware and can keep up to date with things as well. I think that's potentially then the last question, comment or reflection. So I would like to say thank you so much for attending the session this evening. If you are watching this retrospectively afterwards and it's been uploaded to the website, thank you for joining. I hope you answer all of your questions. Like I've said, if you've got any questions or concerns about your children in particular, please feel free to email class teachers in the primary, form tutors in the secondary school. You can also contact English teachers in the secondary school, as they will have a lot of knowledge about your child's individual English and reading levels, so that is available to you all. Otherwise, have a lovely evening, and I hope to see you all soon.